and I'm sitting here with the man whom they call the Dean of Folk City, Mike Porco. Where do you come from?
I come from south part of Italy.
When did you come to the United States?
I came to the United States in 1933.
How old were you then?
I was 18.
Michele Porco boarded the Candid de Savoia in late January 1933 and planned to reunite with his father in America. His journey from Calabria, Italy took 3 days. Unknown to young Mike, as he traveled, his father died suddenly in New York. Mike's uncle took him in to his home.
And I came in when it was the heart of the Depression. It was the worst depression this country ever had. I couldn't get a job as a bartender or get a job as a waiter or any sort of a jobs because I didn't know the language at all.
Anybody remember that rat-infested dressing room down the stairs?
Downstairs, the mysterious catacombs from whence the beer escaped. But also, the dressing room, which wasn't really a dressing room, it was kind of like a little jail cell.
That dressing room basement, that was the hang down there. But man, if those walls could talk, baby, I tell you. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. It was all going on down there.
But you'd go down in the cellar where you'd meet all the other folk singers and you'd rehearse down there with your guitars.
I never went to the basement in either club.
I was in the basement, dark and dingy. Was not conducive to hanging out.
Only place you could get some privacy in the joint. It was sort of our inner sanctum down there. Because you're playing 4 times a night, 45 on, 45 off. Or you could just go downstairs and smoke a doob and maybe make the acquaintance of a fan.
Now, I had never smoked marijuana. I was 35 years old, but I still had never smoked marijuana. I come from a different era, you know.
Well, I can't think of anybody else of note that sang at the Hoot, although, I mean, all of us would get up and do sets. Not even a set, you know, you generally did a few songs, you know, maybe 2, 3 songs. And I used to sit in with a lot of people, and then for a while I was emceeing the Hootenannies.
People were jockeying for position to get on the best spot on the show and to be seen by the most people.
Actually, Simon and Garfunkel showed up and did some sets, and eventually did a week at Folk City.
You never knew who you were going to see and who was going to be playing on stage. And because of that, you got to see things in its embryonic stage. You know, you'd see some glimmer of something that somebody almost did on the stage. And that was cool.
It was sort of just a casting call. There were rumors. There was nothing specific. All you knew was Bob Dylan is sitting there listening to all these people and whispering to Bob Newirth and whispering to Rob Stoner. It's just like when you go to audition for a part and there's 3 people sitting at a table and they're all whispering to each other and taking notes. It was just like that, except the person in the middle was Bob Dylan. And there were paying customers.
At the time that everybody showed up, I think the opening act still had another set to do, so they actually were there listening to an entire show. If I'm not mistaken, it was Jack Hardy and Nancy Lee Baxter, I think, was the opening act. They waited for the main show to be over, and then they took over the stage.
There's that photograph of Bob, Joan, and myself at the same mic, and Eric Anderson.
I played a couple songs, and Bob came up and played, and Joan Baez.
One by one, they each did a song. Dylan first, then Baez, Ramblin' Jack, Eric Anderson, Patti Smith, Buzzy Linhart, Bette Midler. Tom Waits was there, but I don't think he sang. And Phil Oakes got up last.
And the thing about Folk City was that you couldn't really make a lot of money because there weren't very many customers in there. There were many more singer-songwriters and performers, and of course nobody could afford to pay for their own beers and stuff. So how he was doing this, I'm not sure.
He left some money for Bob and I.
Substantial amounts? Just
Decent amount. Well, we bought the condo with it.
Okay. That's about what it was, what we paid for the condo.
What was it, $62,000?
60,000.
Yeah, for the condo.
So that's about what we wound up with from the accounts.
We didn't really get that much money. We got enough to buy the condo.
So, in other words, everything that Folk City amounted to is pretty much, we're sitting in it.
Yeah.
That's it for us.
Exactly.
That's it.
Anything that goes wrong, I couldn't do it. Because at the end of the year, that might be the reason why we were able to stay in business a little longer. I believe that you can avoid a lot of troubles if you're not too greedy to make $1.